Let me ask you something. Are you living as the person you were meant to become, or are you just surviving as a weaker version of yourself? Every day, the weaker you shows up full of excuses, fear, self-doubt, and every day you have a choice to feed it or to destroy it. Napoleon Hill once said, you either control your mind or it controls you. So the question is, how long will you let the weaker version of you make your decisions? That version loves comfort. That version fears change. That version keeps you small. But deep inside you is a warrior, a focused, driven, fearless version. And today is the day we declare war on weakness. Today is the day we kill the part of ourselves that settles. Because greatness doesn't come to the lazy. Success never visits the timid. You want power, purpose, legacy? Then kill that weak version of yourself and build the one you were born to become. Eliminate excuses. Embrace discipline, that is the dividing line between those who dream and those who achieve. Excuses are the stories we tell ourselves to stay comfortable. They are the mental chains that bind us to mediocrity, disguised as reasons wrapped in logic and accepted as truth. But excuses are lies. They are illusions of protection, shielding us from the discomfort that growth demands. People don't fail because they lack talent or intelligence. They fail because they choose comfort over commitment. The moment you justify inaction, the moment you rationalize delay, you feed the weaker version of yourself. And every time you repeat that pattern, it becomes your identity. Excuses are habits, and like any habit, they grow stronger the more you obey them. Discipline, on the other hand, is the weapon of warriors. It is the fire that burns through laziness, the sword that cuts through distractions. Discipline is not a feeling, it is a choice, a commitment to do what must be done, regardless of mood, weather, or comfort. While excuses ask, can I do it tomorrow? Discipline commands, do it now. The people who change their lives, who rise from nothing to everything, are not driven by convenience. They are driven by commitment. They understand that comfort is a silent killer and that greatness lives on the other side of effort. They know that every time they choose discipline over excuses, they become stronger, sharper, and more in control of their destiny. You must understand this. Discipline is built in the small moments. Waking up when you say you will, showing up when it's hard, finishing what you start. It's not just about grinding, it's about aligning your actions with your highest standards every single day. Excuses want you to skip the gym because it's cold. Discipline says train anyway. Excuses tell you to stay in bed because you're tired. Discipline says rise anyway. Excuses whisper that you'll fail. Discipline shouts that you'll learn. This battle between excuses and discipline is not occasional, it is daily. It shows up in the mirror. It speaks in your mind. It challenges your will. And only one side can win. What makes discipline powerful is that it gives you back control. When you are ruled by excuses, life happens to you. You wait for motivation. You depend on circumstances. You become reactive. But when you choose discipline, you take your power back. You become proactive. You create results regardless of the situation. You become the kind of person who does what needs to be done, not because it's easy, but because it's right. Discipline transforms identity. When you act with discipline, even in small ways, you start to see yourself differently. You stop identifying as a victim and start seeing yourself as a creator. And once that shift happens, your whole reality begins to change. Excuses are comfortable, but they cost you everything. They cost you your time, your confidence, your potential. They keep you locked in a life that's less than what you were born for. And the worst part, they multiply. One excuse leads to another. One skipped habit leads to a broken pattern. One lazy day leads to a lost year. That's how lives are wasted, one small excuse at a time. You have to kill excuses like they are threats to your future, because they are. They don't look dangerous, but they are deadly. They seem harmless, but they steal everything that matters. Now think about the version of yourself that doesn't make excuses. The one that honors commitment. The one that keeps promises to themselves. That version of you is already inside. It's just buried under layers of stories, fears, and procrastination. To bring that version forward, you must make a decision. No more excuses. Not one. Not about time, energy, money, support, or circumstances. Because the truth is, someone with less is doing more. Someone with more pain is pushing harder. Someone with more to lose is taking greater risks. And the only difference is they've decided that discipline wins. The beauty of discipline is that it doesn't require perfection. It requires consistency. It doesn't demand that you never fall. It demands that you rise every time. And with every act of discipline, you are casting a vote for the kind of person you want to become. You are writing your story in actions, not just intention. And the story of a disciplined person is always one of progress, growth, and strength. You won't see the results overnight, but you will feel the shift. You will notice the clarity. You will build the resilience. And slowly the gap between who you are and who you want to be will begin to close. Discipline also brings freedom. It sounds like a paradox, but it's not. When you're disciplined with your time, you gain more of it. When you're disciplined with your habits, you gain more energy. When you're disciplined with your thoughts, you gain more peace. Excuses pretend to offer relief, but they bring regret. Discipline brings challenge, but it leads to pride. And the greatest kind of pride is knowing that you are in control of yourself, that your life is a reflection of your highest values, not your lowest moods. There is power in momentum. Once you reject excuses once, it becomes easier to do it again. Once you choose discipline once, it becomes part of your identity. And momentum is what separates those who start strong and fade from those who start with fire and finish like champions. It's not about doing everything at once. It's about doing the right things over and over again until they become second nature. Discipline is a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets. And over time, the gap between the disciplined you and the excuse-making you becomes unrecognizable. It starts with honesty. Brutal honesty. Where are you lying to yourself? What habits are you defending that are killing your progress? What excuses have you been repeating so often that you've started to believe them? Shine a light on them, name them, write them down, then make the decision. Those excuses no longer live here. They are not welcome in your mind. They are not part of your story. Replace them with standards. Replace them with truth. Replace them with because at the end of the day, it's not just about what you do, it's about who you become through what you do. Discipline isn't punishment, it's empowerment, it's transformation. It's choosing to act not from weakness, but from strength. It's choosing long-term fulfillment over short-term comfort. And once you learn to eliminate excuses and embrace discipline, there is no limit to what you can become. Burn the old identity. Build a new standard. This is the transformation required if you want to reach your next level. The person you are today is built on habits, beliefs, thoughts, and behaviors that have created your current results. And if those results are not enough, if you feel a calling for more, then the truth is simple. The current version of you must be replaced. Not improved, replaced. You don't upgrade a weak mindset. You eliminate it. You don't tweak a lazy identity. You burn it down. Growth doesn't come by adding on top of weakness. It comes by creating something entirely new from the ground up. Everything you want: discipline, success, confidence, clarity, respect. It requires a new identity. One that is aligned with purpose. One that acts with intention. one that does not tolerate excuses, delays, or weakness. That identity does not emerge by chance. It is constructed piece by piece in the fire of daily decisions. You must be willing to become the architect of your own character. Every action you take, every thought you allow, every boundary you enforce or break, it either reinforces the old you or builds the new you. The standard you set becomes the life you live. The problem is that most people are trying to grow without letting go. They want new results with old patterns. They want new strength while clinging to old comfort. That's not how transformation works. You cannot carry your old self into your new life. The identity that procrastinates, avoids challenge, fears rejection, seeks validation, that version of you must go. You must become ruthless with the parts of you that hold you back. Because if you don't eliminate them, they will quietly sabotage every breakthrough you attempt. Burning the old identity is not about hating who you were. It's about refusing to be held hostage by outdated limitations. It's about looking in the mirror and saying, this version of me is no longer allowed to run my life. That decision, that commitment, is where power begins. Because once you've made it, your actions start to shift. You stop negotiating with weakness. You stop making choices based on moods and start making them based on standards. And that's where transformation becomes real. You build the new standard by demanding more from yourself, mentally, physically, emotionally, by choosing the hard path when it's aligned with growth, by choosing to say no to things that once defined you. Maybe it's saying no to sleeping in, no to scrolling, no to toxic people, no to habits that kept you numb. That new standard is built every time you raise the bar on how you show up. And the more you raise it, the more the world begins to respond. Opportunities, respect, self-belief, they don't come to the old identity. They come to the one who was bold enough to let go of average. It begins with clarity. Who is the version of you that achieves your vision? How does that person think? How do they speak to themselves? How do they act under pressure? What do they prioritize, ignore, or obsess over? Once you define that, the mission becomes simple. Become that person through daily decisions. Not once, every day, in every moment that counts, and especially in the moments when the old identity tries to sneak back in. Because it will. The old self doesn't go quietly. It will resist. It will beg for comfort. It will rationalize its way back into your habits. That's when you must stay alert. You must be vigilant. You must remember that if you allow the old identity even a little space, it will take over again. That's why this isn't a one-time change. It's a daily war. But it's a war worth fighting. Because every day that you choose the new standard, you become stronger. You gain clarity. You earn the self-respect that comes from alignment. You're not just creating better results. You're becoming a better person, a more powerful version, a leader of your own life. That doesn't happen through comfort. It happens through sacrifice, through choosing hard things, through staying committed when motivation fades. That new standard becomes your new normal when you stop tolerating anything less. And as you do, your environment starts to shift too. People begin to see you differently. Your energy becomes different. Your decisions become sharper, and you no longer fit in with the old patterns, the old people, or the old excuses. Burning the old identity requires courage. It means being willing to feel uncomfortable. It means grieving the version of you that you've outgrown. It means letting go of validation, approval, and old definitions of success. But in return, you gain something far greater. Freedom. The freedom to live life on your terms. The freedom to choose purpose over fear. The freedom to evolve without permission. That is the reward for choosing to rebuild yourself from the inside out. It takes honesty, brutal honesty. You must be willing to audit your life and admit where you're slipping, where you're still living by the old rules, where you're still playing small, hiding, pretending, or delaying. And you must face those truths without ego, without defensiveness, because only when you face them can you change them. You must ask yourself every day, are my actions aligned with my future or my past? Are my thoughts building my next level or reinforcing my last one? Am I honoring the new standard or slipping back into the old comfort? Transformation is not accidental. It is engineered. It is executed, and it is enforced with consistency. You build it by doing the work when no one is watching. You build it by saying yes to your higher self and no to your lower impulses. You build it by committing to your evolution more than your convenience. That is how leaders are made. That is how legacy is built. That is how you rise from who you were to who you are becoming. And this is the deeper truth. The world will not believe in your new identity until you do. You must be the first one to see it, act on it, and live by it. Before there are results, before there is applause, before there is recognition, there must be a belief so strong that it shapes your behavior. Because the world doesn't respond to what you say. It responds to what you do consistently. And if your actions reflect the new standard, everything begins to shift. Not immediately, but inevitably. There is no going back after this decision. You can't unsee your potential. You can't unknow your purpose. You can't pretend to be average when your soul craves excellence. So don't try to fit into an identity that was only meant to be temporary. Destroy it, release it, bury it, then get to work on building something far more powerful, far more honest, and far more aligned with who you are destined to be. Master your mind before it masters you. This is the fundamental principle that separates those who create their destiny from those who are controlled by it. Your mind is the most powerful tool you will ever possess, but it is also the most dangerous weapon if left unchecked. Every thought, every belief, every interpretation you accept has the power to either elevate you or enslave you. The difference between success and stagnation, between courage and fear, between freedom and limitation, begins in the mind. It is the battlefield where all transformation starts. And if you fail to take control, your mind will be ruled by old programming, negative influences, and the constant pull of mediocrity. Most people live in reaction. They wake up and immediately absorb the world. Social media, news, opinions, comparison. Their emotions are hijacked before they even take their first conscious breath. This is what it looks like when the mind is in control of the person, rather than the person being in control of the mind. When the external world dictates your internal state, you are no longer free. You become a slave to moods, to triggers, to distractions. You wait to feel good before taking action. You depend on motivation to begin, but motivation is temporary, and feelings are unreliable. What is required is mental mastery. A disciplined mind that acts on command, not impulse. You must train your mind the way an athlete trains their body, with repetition, with intentional focus, with patience and precision. You don't build a strong mind by hoping it happens. You build it by taking control of your thoughts the moment they arise, by observing your patterns and challenging them, by breaking the habit of overthinking, self-doubt, fear-based narrative. Your mind will present you with stories. Stories about why you're not ready, why it's too hard, why you should wait. These stories are not facts. They are conditioned responses, often rooted in past experiences or someone else's limitation. And if you believe them without questioning them, they will shape your life without permission. To master your mind, you must learn to separate thought from truth. Just because a thought feels real doesn't mean it's accurate. Thoughts are often biased, emotional, and reactive, but you are not your thoughts. You are the observer, the thinker, the one with the power to decide which thoughts get to stay and which ones must go. That awareness is the foundation of freedom. When you realize you can choose your response, no matter the trigger, you take back control. And with that control comes power. The power to stay calm in chaos. The power to persist in failure. The power to believe in yourself when there's no evidence yet. Mental mastery requires discipline, but it also requires self-compassion. You can't control your mind by attacking it. You control it by understanding it, by becoming deeply aware of your tendencies, where you hesitate, where you overanalyze, where you retreat. And once you see those patterns, you interrupt them, not with shame but with power. You tell yourself, this is not who I am anymore. That was the old pattern. I choose differently now. Every time you override a negative mental loop, you weaken its grip. And every time you reinforce a new empowering thought, you build a new neural path. Over time, this becomes your mental foundation, not fear but strength, not chaos but clarity. Mastering the mind also means mastering focus. The world is noisy, filled with temptations and distractions, designed to steal your attention. But the most successful people in the world are not the most talented. They are the most focused. They know how to protect their mental energy like it's gold, because it is. They don't allow drama, negativity, or meaningless tasks to consume their mental space. They create boundaries. They curate what they consume. They are intentional about what enters their mind, because they understand that what enters the mind shapes the soul. If you want to rise, you must protect your focus like your future depends on it. Because it does. Another critical part of mastering your mind is mastering your emotions. Emotions are signals, not commands. Just because you feel fear doesn't mean you must stop. Just because you feel tired doesn't mean you can't act. Emotional intelligence is not about suppressing emotions. It's about learning from them without being controlled by them. It's about asking, why am I feeling this way? What is this trying to teach me? How can I use this? Not be ruled by it. That level of emotional mastery gives you resilience. It allows you to keep moving forward, not just when things are good, but especially when they're not. There will be moments when your mind becomes your enemy, when it tells you you're not good enough, not fast enough, not capable enough. In those moments, you must speak back with truth. You must have a voice inside stronger than the noise outside. That voice must be trained to remind you who you are and what you're here to do. This is why affirmations, visualization, and intentional thinking are not cliches. They are weapons, tools for reshaping the mind into an ally rather than an obstacle. Your mind must be conditioned for possibility, for perseverance, for self-leadership, and that conditioning comes from daily practice. It's in your daily rituals that your mental power is either sharpened or dulled. The books you read, the conversations you have, the goals you set, the silence you allow yourself to sit in, the way you handle setbacks, failures, and criticism. These are the moments where mental mastery is built, not in the grand gestures but in the subtle repetitions. Every time you choose progress over comfort, growth over safety, action over doubt, you are sculpting a powerful mind, one that will not crumble under pressure, but rise through it. You don't need to control the world. You need to control your perception of it. Life is neutral. Events happen, people change, plans fail, but it is your interpretation that determines your experience. When your mind is weak, everything feels overwhelming. But when your mind is strong, nothing can shake you. That's the level you must aim for. A mind that is unshakable, not because life is easy, but because you are prepared. Because you have built yourself into someone who doesn't break under pressure, who doesn't quit in the storm, who doesn't need external validation to keep going. The goal is not just success. It's self-mastery. It's being in command of your inner world, so nothing outside of you can disturb your peace. That doesn't happen by accident. It happens through intention, through relentless self-awareness, through choosing thoughts that serve you and discarding those that don't, through becoming your own coach, not your worst critic, through developing the discipline to act even when the mind resists. Because the mind will resist. It will tempt you with comfort. It will beg for distraction. It will try to convince you that staying the same is safer than evolving.